Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today on our Recycle Right at Home webinar. We offer these webinars every month on a variety of topics, and we periodically do the basics of how to recycle right here in Franklin County. As a friendly reminder, if you are coming on call from outside Franklin County, this information may or may not apply to you, so I would encourage you to double check your local solid waste district, your recycling community program to verify what's accepted and what's not. My name's Amy Dunsborn. I'm the administrator for SWACO, and let's go ahead and get started today. So for those of you who are new to the GoToWebinar platform, it's to help enhance your experience. There's a couple features that I want to make note of. We have the, on the control panel, you'll see a number of icons. The most important ones today for you are the question box. That's where you're going to be typing in all your questions during today's session. I do have everyone on mute. And so if you do have a question, a comment, I want to hear about it, just drop it in the chat, drop it in the question box at any point in time. And I will be addressing everyone's questions at the end of today's call. And then I do have 3 handouts that I'm sharing today. If you see the icon that looks like a piece of paper, click on that. You should be able to double click those handouts. They're PDFs to download them to your device. If for some reason you're having issues downloading the PDFs, don't worry about it. You can always email me after today's call and I'll send the email, the handouts your way. My email is inside your registration email that you use to join today's call. So for those who are maybe new to SWACO, you're not really exactly sure our role in Franklin County, we are essentially a solid waste district, and we are required, state mandated, to develop programs and services that seek to divert materials away from our landfill. We also happen to own the landfill here in Franklin County. Now that's pretty unique. Most solid waste districts don't own a landfill. So we have a unique perspective into the waste stream here in Franklin County. And it really helps to for us to build programs around the types of materials that we're seeing a lot of in the landfill that don't belong there. So here's just a snippet of some of the programs and services we offer, everything from grant funding for nonprofits, schools, and communities to help them recycle and compost, to event organizers being able to rent the durable, reusable recycling and compost containers, specialty recycling programs for things like prescription medications, yard signs, and e-waste. And then we do offer a public drop-off program for recyclables, 54 locations and growing in Franklin County for those residents who lack access to recycling where they live. So in particular, a lot of multifamily and apartments in our region don't often have recycling on their property. And so this program helps to supplement to ensure that those residents can still recycle. I'm not going to go through every single program that SWACO offers. If you want to learn more about what SWACO does for the Franklin County community, I encourage you to check out swaco.org. So the reality is, and probably the reason why you're all here today to learn more, is more and more waste is being generated here in Franklin County. We are a growing community. More people means more trash. And so we're working really hard at SWACO, as well as with all of our stakeholder groups and our community leaders, to find solutions to recover materials so they don't have to go to a landfill. So right now, our landfill takes in over just over 1.2 million tons. A visual that I like to share with folks, just because, you know, we've got some die-hard Buckeye fans in Columbus. The amount of waste that we generate here in Central Ohio every year would fill up that Ohio Stadium 4 times in a year. So the next time you go to a game, take a look around. And imagine that entire venue filled up 4 times with trash. It's hard to fathom. So what do you think is the #1 source of material in the landfill? This is my trivia question for you today. I know you thought that you were gonna get off the hook without any quizzes, but I do have one quiz for you. So if you want to go ahead and select the answer on your screen of what you think the #1 source of material is in the landfill. Do you think it's cardboard, plastic, food, or mattresses? For those of you who have been on my webinars before, you probably know the answer. But I always think it's interesting to see everyone's ideas and opinions of what they think the #1 source is. So that's why I like to continue to ask this question. All right, we've got everybody in. So it looks like the majority of people, 50% of folks, said plastic. They think plastic's the #1 source of material in the landfill, followed up by food and then cardboard, and no one selected mattresses. So it's actually food, surprisingly so. And so food is the #1 source of material by weight that we receive at our county landfill. It's equal to 1 million pounds of food that we receive every day. It makes up 15% of the total waste stream. And so this isn't just an issue here in Central Ohio, it's a nationwide problem. The USDA estimates that 40% of all the food that's grown in our country is discarded through incineration or landfilling. So SWACO is convening local stakeholders to find ways to rescue food whenever possible, and then developing solutions for composting outlets. And so we really, really are working hard to get that amount of food that's in the landfill reduced. So we've got food waste. Let's talk about some other materials in the waste stream. If you're a nerd like me and you really geek out on percentages and numbers, you might find this interesting. Otherwise, maybe not so much. But we've got #1 source of material, food. #2 is cardboard, 10% of the stream. And so you might be thinking, well, Amy, cardboard is 100% recyclable. You're absolutely right. It sure is. Unfortunately, the way that we interact with goods and shop as a consumer has changed drastically. And because of that, we are seeing more cardboard ending up in the landfill because of how we shop. We shop online these days, right? You can basically buy anything online. I bought a mattress for my daughter online in a cardboard box. And if you don't have access to recycling where you live, that cardboard is going to go in the trash. So 76% of the material has the potential to be recovered through reuse, recycling, or composting. Really, only 24% of that stream is the truly non-recoverable material, and the reason why we have a landfill. So let's go through what we can do, right? We don't want to hear all the doom and gloom. We want to hear about steps that we can take to lessen the burden on the landfill. #1 source of material is food waste. So what can you do at home to prevent food waste? There's a number of things, and I'm sure many of you on the call are already doing all these things, but in case you're not, or in case you want to empower your friends and family to do more, all of these actions at the end of the day will save you money. I think that speaks to all of us right now, especially with inflation and how much more expensive groceries are. I want to save money when I go grocery shopping. I don't want to buy food that goes bad. Scan this QR code, check out our website, savemorethanfood.org. There's this hub that will teach you all about how to reduce food waste, make the most out of the food you buy, and then finding solutions for composting, a system that works well for you, whether that be a backyard system, a drop-off, or curbside. There's something out there that will work for you. Check out Save More Than Food to learn more. All right, we're here for the do's and don'ts for recycling. If you joined a little bit late to the call, I've seen a few more people jump on after I gave my spiel in the beginning. Just a friendly reminder, this information applies to Franklin County residents, single family home residents. It does not matter where your recycling, who your hauler is that picks up your recycling. It all goes to the same place to be processed. owned and operated by Rumpke. They are a private company. They process the materials, sort them, and then sell them to end users where they get a second life as something new. And so you could have local waste as your hauler, you could have Rumpke, it all goes to the same place. So single family homes, or you take your material to a SWACO drop-off site. This information applies to you. If you're on the call today outside of the county or from a business and you're wanting and you have a different hauler for your business outside of Rumpke, this information likely doesn't apply to you. I encourage you to reach out to us to learn more. All right, let's jump into it. All paper and cardboard is accepted for recycling. How to remove the greasy part and throw that away and then recycle the clean part? You don't have to do that anymore. You can do the whole thing. All right, checking in on something here. Plastic bottles and containers. We recently added, Rumpke recently added clamshell containers to their list. Those are those hinged berry containers, pastry containers. Sometimes you can get them from the deli or the dairy section. And so bottles and jugs, I think we all know we've been doing those for 15 plus years. Tubs were added over the last few years. Think cottage cheese, yogurt, sour cream. Cups, like clear and white cups that you might get from, say, a gas station or a fast food restaurant, your favorite Starbucks drink. And then now, most recently, starting last fall, those clamshell containers. All lids and labels can stay on your plastics. That is not a big deal for the recycler. They will also make sure that the lids get recycled too. Glass bottles and jars, all colors are accepted. The metal lids should go in separately into the recycling bin. So you have a pickle jar, you've got the metal lid, you give it a quick rinse, put the lid and the glass jar in separately, and both will get recycled. Metal cans and metal cups, even something like an aerosol can that has materials that are non-hazardous can be recycled. So think sunscreen, hairspray, Cool Whip, things like that. They do ask, Rumpke asks that you remove that plastic tip and you try to empty as much of the contents as you can before you recycle it. Carton containers, any type is accepted. Please remove the lids if you remember. And then you're probably thinking to yourself, Amy, there's so many rules. How am I going to remember all of them? You're going to do the best you can. At the end of the day, if you're only going to commit to one rule or one criteria for recycling to memorize, remember to keep everything loose. When we place our recyclables inside plastic bags, Rumpke has a really hard time processing those. The way their equipment is designed is to process everything by shape and material type. And when it's inside a bag, their machinery can't detect all those different categories and shapes. So I want all your efforts to recycle to be for something, right? I want everything you put into it to actually end up working. So keep them loose. Don't put them in plastic bags. So you'll see on the not accepted side, I have plastic bags and films. Those are a no. You can recycle those if you go take them back to the retailer, places like Giant Eagle, Target, Walmart, Meijer, Kroger. They usually have stations as you walk into the store where you can deposit all your bags and films. The rule of thumb for that program, the material should be stretchy and flexible. So how you know? Take your thumb, push it through the plastic. If it stretches, it's a-okay. If it doesn't, and instead you're met with like a really crunchy sound and it just doesn't flex, then it does not go on that program. Batteries, propane tanks, and other flammables, those don't go on our recycling or our trash. They're a safety concern for the folks working at the landfill and the recycling facility. I'll share more about where those materials go in a little bit. Tanglers like electronics and hangers are also a no. And then at this time, any type of styrofoam, Rumpke does not want. So these are some more examples of clamshell-esque containers. I think the one that I forget about often is the plastic egg carton container. I've seen them in styrofoam, I've seen them in like a paper board, and then I very rarely see them in plastic, but I do know they exist. And then these other type of hinged containers, you might get salads in them, you might get takeout food in them, pastries, and then this one is really kind of more classified as a tub, but people often confuse them, so I just throw it on there as an example. The one style container that Rumpke still doesn't want, that sometimes people refer to as a clamshell, is a black takeout food container. They currently, right now, don't have buyers for any black plastic. Black plastic is one of those challenging materials to recycle. Rumpke is working on finding buyers, but it's just taking time. And so if you do, a favorite carryout spot does put their food in black plastic, try to find a way to reuse it. You know, I keep mine around the house to give leftovers after we have, you know, gatherings at my house. I don't want to give them my nice containers, so I give them the black takeout ones, and then I figure it's one more reuse before they inevitably end up in the landfill. Some other items that Rumpke does not accept that we get a lot of questions about, these are the ones probably that cause the most confusion. The plastic cutlery, the solo party style cups, they're usually colored. That's how you know they're party style. I've seen them in red, black, and blue. Sure, they have other colors too, but those are the ones I've seen. And then prescription medicine bottles are a no. They will accept over-the-counter medicine bottles, so think vitamins, ibuprofen, stuff like that. That's okay, just not the prescription. And then the plant containers and flats at this time, they are not accepting. So you might be thinking, well, I've been looking at the bottom of these plastics my whole life to determine if an item is accepted for recycling. I think that's how a lot of us have learned to know, have deciphered whether or not an item is recyclable or not. And unfortunately, this resin code is what we call it. It's just been misused over the years. It doesn't necessarily mean that that item is accepted for recycling. It just means that it could potentially be recycled somewhere. And it also tells you the type of resin that you're holding in your hand. It's really more for the manufacturer of the plastic, and it's less for us as the consumer. So you don't need to worry about numbers here in Franklin County. If you remember a couple slides ago, I was going through the plastics category. I wasn't making reference to any of the numbers. Instead, I was focusing on the shape of the plastic. And so is it a bottle or jug? That's a 1 or 2. Is it a 5? That is a cottage cheese yogurt container or polypropylene. Those are the 3 most common plastics that have steady markets and steady end users for. The other ones like 3, 4, 6, and 7, they can be historically tough to recycle. I'm not saying impossible. I'm just saying more challenging. Okay, they take specialized recycling markets, and they're just they have additional challenges with recycling them. You don't need to worry about the numbers though. You're here to learn more, and I want to help educate you on what those numbers mean. We really do count ourselves lucky to have Rumpke as the processor here in Central Ohio. They are continuing to make commitments to recycle more and more materials year after year. And they even just made a $90 million investment in recycling here in Central Ohio and built the largest recycling facility in North America, right here in Columbus. So everything that we recycle stays in the United States, with the majority of it staying in our state, 80% of it, in fact. Most of what we recycle here in Columbus doesn't even leave our state. Some really good examples of where materials go, and this isn't everything, this is just a snapshot. Steel stays here in Columbus, tubs go to Ironton, jugs go to New Albany, and bottles go to Bowling Green. Glass goes to Zanesville. Where it's going to get a second life is liquor bottles. And paper and cardboard go to Wapakoneta, where it gets turned into new Amazon Prime boxes. What I think is really cool about the Wapakoneta site is it's a 100% recycled paper mill, meaning the paper mill does not rely on any virgin trees to manufacture their new paper products. So you can feel really good when you recycle paper and cardboard in our community that it's going to get a second life as new cardboard boxes. And I just mentioned this brand new recycling facility that Rumpke just built in Columbus. It is state-of-the-art new technology that's able to process more and more plastics, including those clamshells. They have reported since they opened their facility last summer that they have a 99.2 capture rate. What that means is of the material that they accept for recycling that gets tipped on their floor, those 5 materials that we covered, they are capturing, processing, and baling 99% of that material, and it's getting to end users to become something new. That is remarkable, and that's because of their commitments and investments in new technology at their new material recovery facility. So I love recycling. Recycling is great for the environment. It has a lot of benefits. It reduces landfill reliance. It's helping to reduce emissions, less trucks on the road driving around our trash, but it's not the end all be all solution for being a better environmental steward. There are other things that we can do to create more sustainable solutions in our daily lives. So I'm thinking about ways that we can reuse materials, right? So thinking about ways like I mentioned the takeout food container. Can't recycle them. I know it's a bummer, but is there a way that you can find a reuse strategy for those things that are lying around your house? You use them 1 or 2 more times for leftovers. Could you bring your own reusable container to your favorite dinner when you go and you have leftovers? So instead of using their carryout container, instead of using their to-go container, which if it's styrofoam or black plastic, you don't need another black plastic container that you can't recycle, right? Bring your own. I keep a few in my trunk, and so I always have them on the run, even if I forget my container, which I often do. Are you capturing all the recyclables in your house already? If you're anything like me, you live in a household where people often rely on you to get the recyclables to their designated location in the kitchen. Would it be helpful to put another side-by-side bin in the laundry room or in the bathroom to capture the detergent jugs, the shampoo bottles, the lotion bottles, things like that? So making sure you're doing as much as you can to capture all those materials in your house, to get them into the recycling, and then to find sustainable swaps whenever possible. So if you are anything like me during spring season, I get this like itch to kind of go through my house, weed out things in closets, go in the basement, poke around, figure out what I can get rid of. Spring cleaning, right? This phenomenon that takes place. When you are in these, and when you have these urges, I want you not to rely on the landfill to get rid of things. I know it's convenient to throw it all away in our trash can, but most places have a way to be diverted from the landfill. You just have to figure out the best plan to go about that. And SWACO's here to help you. We developed a search tool. It has over 500 locations to take hard to recycle things. It can be found at recycleright.org. Scan the QR code if you want to have access to it on your phone. If you're on our website, you're typing in the thing you want to recycle or compost, you can't find what you're looking for, I want you to give us a call. We answer the phones Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. We also respond to our emails. If the front desk doesn't know what to do with the materials, then they'll reach out to me and I will certainly do my research to try to find you a solution. Styrofoam is one of those other specialty hard to recycle materials that Rumpke currently doesn't take. There are some options out there for you here in Central Ohio. Hilliard has a 24/7 drop-off shed at their municipal center. They take any type of styrofoam packaging. I have heard too that they're now taking styrofoam peanuts as well. And then SWACO has a convenience center off of Jackson Pike. We also take styrofoam, the styrofoam packaging like coolers, electronic packaging and things like that. We are not taking the peanuts. We have different different technologies that break down the styrofoam, and we just don't have the one, the newer one that Hilliard has this time, but we're working on it. Hard to recycle things. Gosh, there's you name it. It's in our houses. Electronics, old propane tanks, gasoline, pesticides, old paints, food waste. If you've got stuff like that lying around, I really want you to check out Swaco's Convenience Center off Jackson Pike. And then the city of Columbus has 2 waste and reuse convenience centers, one off of Allen Creek and one off of Georgesville Road, where they take a variety of those materials. So depending on which one's closest to you, double check their hours and ensure that they accept the materials that you're looking to recycle and divert from the landfill. When it comes to all household hazardous waste, anything that's considered toxic, flammable, it's corrosive, it really doesn't go in the landfill. That's why we have a permanent household hazardous waste facility. It's near the Ohio State Fairgrounds off of East 8th Avenue. We take anything toxic or flammable from Franklin County residents. The one exception to the rule that you do incur a fee is with latex paint. And so if you don't want to pay $1 per can or $1 per gallon, excuse me, you can dry it out at your house. Latex paint is non-toxic to the landfill. It's water-based, it's not harmful. It just needs to be solid, in a solid state before it comes to the landfill. And that's for 2 reasons. We don't want it to spill during transit and get all over the roads, polluting the storm drains, and or to get on someone's car down the highway. Mix it with some kitty litter, some sawdust. They even make this like paint hardener that you can get specific at the hardware store for this job to harden the paint. If you don't want to go through all that and you would rather pay the $1 per can, you can here, or you can take it to Swaco's Convenience Center off of Jackson Pike. We will take your paint for free, and we work with a partner that reblends the paint to help with rebuilding communities that have suffered from natural disasters. So pick your journey on that one. If you are just now dabbling into the idea of composting and you're not quite ready to start doing it in your backyard, or maybe you live in a multifamily unit or an HOA that doesn't allow you to do that, you're in luck, because Central Ohio has 30 free food waste drop-off sites. Go to savemorethanfood.org to find a drop-off site near you. You don't have to register ahead of time. You can just take your scraps here. What's great about these food waste drop-off sites, you can do things like meat, dairy, and bones, which you typically aren't supposed to do in your backyard system because they can attract critters. But because this stuff is going to a commercial facility where it's monitored and the temperatures get high enough to kill any of that bacteria that's in those other foods, it's not an issue for the commercial facilities. Hold on one second. My neighbor is mowing their lawn. Hope you didn't hear that. All right, my one last program for hard to recycle materials that typically don't go in curbside. I get a lot of questions about this program. I'm still learning about it too. And so if you do have specific questions, I'll do my best to answer them, but I'll reach out to Rumpke to get clarification. There is a hefty renew bag program that has started in Central Ohio. Most of Ohio actually has it now, but it's a partnership between Hefty, the trash bag company, and Rumpke. Hefty is selling these orange bags. They run about 40 cents a bag. You can get them at retailers like Walmart, Meijer, and Target. You fill up these orange bags with hard to recycle plastics. So items such as chip bags, candy wrappers, any type of styrofoam to go container. Plastic bags and film products are also accepted. Snack food bags, salad bags, frozen food bags, like a lot of that plastic that's really tough to recycle. Historically, most programs aren't taking that. Curbside programs don't take that. So again, this is above and beyond what you can do curbside. So this is for people who just want to do a little bit extra. I encourage you to try to avoid these items whenever possible, but it's not always feasible to completely avoid them. So if you're interested, you can get on hefty.com. They have a free starter kit that you can request. So you could test it out before you buy a full box of bags. They'll send you a list of like everything that's included in the program. And then once you fill your orange bag up, it goes right into your curbside recycling bin. That's right, tie it off, put it inside your curbside bin. When the recycling hauler picks up your material, it's going to go to Rumpke. Rumpke pulls it off their line and they send it to Hefty to recycle it. Those plastics will get a second life into things like park benches. So they are getting recycled. They're getting, downcycled into a new product like drainage materials, benches, and different composite lumbers. All right, that was a lot of information really quickly. Thanks for hanging on with me for the last 30 minutes. I'm going to start opening up to all the questions that have been coming in. If you haven't typed in your question yet, please do so now, as I am going to start to answer these. Oh, I'll also say I just saw a question come in about the Hefty bag program, and if you don't have recycling where you live, you can still do this. Yes. The way you still do this is you take your material to a SWACO recycling drop-off site. That's how you can still participate. We take all of our material to Rumpke for processing. So if you live in a multifamily unit or you live somewhere that doesn't have access to recycling, make sure your recyclables and your orange bags get to a SWACO drop-off site, and we will take care of the rest for you. All right, so Barbara asked a question about shredded paper. This is another really common question that I get. Let me pull out of this slide deck here. And I'm going to show you our website, recycleright.org. So I talked about this earlier. So you want to know what to do with shredded paper. Here we go. I'm going to read more. So when it comes to shredded paper, Rumpke will accept shredded paper as long as it is inside a clear bag. And you're probably thinking, well, Amy, you just told me you don't want any and you don't want any bags. I know. Okay. This is Rumpke's facility. This is Rumpke's best practices that they're advising us on, right? Like all we can do is listen to their advice and share and educate the community on what they prefer at their recycling facility. They will take shredded paper only inside a clear bag. They want it to be in a clear bag for two reasons. They know that you did your homework and prepped the material for recycling. If it's inside a clear bag, they can see through it and they can pull it off the line, pull it off the conveyor belt, and make sure all that paper gets dumped and mixed in with all the other paper products. If we throw it in loose into the bin, likely it's all just going to contaminate and get all over all the other materials. So it's not going to actually end up getting captured. If you put it in like a black bag or a blue bag or whatever, they can't see through it. They don't know what's inside it. And therefore they just don't risk opening mysterious bags, as you can imagine, right? So put it in a clear bag. If you don't want to mess with the clear bag, you can compost shredded paper. So if you're a backyard composter, throw it in your compost bin. It makes a great source of carbon. It breaks down in a couple months, and then you don't have to worry about the bag. There also are always a number of shredding events taking place in our community. And so, I would just periodically, if you don't want to mess with the clear bag and you've got shredded paper or paper you want to see shredded, I would do a Google search to see when a shredding event is taking place near you. All right. Barbara asked questions about clamshell containers, which are 1s and 2s, but do we also accept takeaway containers that are clamshells but are number 6s? So Barbara, you don't need to worry about the numbers anymore. I think you asked that question before I got into my number spiel, but now you know. So a clamshell hinge container, it's white, it's clear, it's A-okay. If it's a black one, they don't want it. It doesn't matter the numbers. You don't have to worry about that. Another question came in about the cleanliness of recyclables. It's a really good question. The rule of thumb when it comes to cleaning recyclables is they should be clean and dry. So you know, that can look like a lot of different things. It could look like giving your soup can a quick rinse underneath the faucet, giving it a shake and dumping it out and then throwing it in. But if it's a peanut butter jar, you kind of have to put a little bit of effort into it, right? You got to like put some soap in it and get a scrubber and clean it out. If you got a dog, you could give your dog the peanut butter instead. They might clean out the jar for you, but a little bit of different effort has to go into cleaning out our recyclables before we throw them in the recycling bin. Now, I see another question that just came in. Are there issues with materials not being recycled if they're heavily contaminated? And so this is a hard one for me to address. The bigger concern with contamination is when things get commingled into bales that don't belong there. So it's like a compressed bale of material of paper. If that paper bale has plastics inside of it and glass inside of it, that's what makes it challenging for the end users to recycle the materials. There's less of a concern if there's a little bit of spaghetti sauce on a jar, or you know, a little bit of peanut butter left in a jar. That's less of a concern. Now, they want it to be clean as you can make it, but a little bit of residue left on a jar or a can is not going to make or break an entire load of recyclables. Do the best you can and get it in the recycling stream. Nita asked a great question about what is the difference between prescription bottles and over-the-counter pill bottles. It's an excellent question, and it's something that how Rumpke has explained it. It has to do with adhesive that is on the prescription pill bottle with our identifiable information. That adhesive is very challenging to remove from the plastic, and the buyers that are buying those plastics don't like to work with that adhesive material. The adhesive material that attaches a vitamin bottle label to an over-the-counter medication is different, and therefore they are okay taking the over-the-counter bottles. I think there's more to it than I fully understand, but it's really a Rumpke question. So I would encourage you to reach out to Rumpke to see if you can get additional clarification. Because keep in mind, Rumpke is the company processing all these materials, developing, installing the technology, and then building these relationships with these end users to sell the commodities or the recyclables to make them into something new. And then, are there tours of the new facility? So absolutely, if you go to rumpke.com, let's go there now. Let's see if we can find it here. So yeah, navigate to the recycling tours. They have a tab where you can say book a recycling tour. And they allow children 10 years and above to come to their new recycling facility here in Columbus, Ohio. It looks like they're scheduled on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 to 3. If you just have a small group, you don't have like a group of 10 or 15 or something, and you just want to like join along with somebody else, just say that in your submittal that, you know, it's just you or a couple of people and you'd be open to joining any Thursday in the coming months if there was space on a tour. They are free. It's really cool. You'll get to check out their new education center too, which has a variety of like games that you can play on how to sort materials, bales, how to be a sustainable shopper when you're grocery shopping. So it's a really cool site. We're really, really grateful and lucky to have Rumpke making these kinds of investments and commitments to recycling here in our region. Yeah, so Barbara had another really great question. I love the enthusiasm on shredded paper here. I think it's something that we all have in common, right? We all have sensitive documents. We want to do our part to see that paper recycled. It has value. Rumpke's want the Rumpke's of the world want shredded paper. Office paper does recycle really nicely into new products. And so the question was regarding smaller pieces of paper that are smaller than 2 by 2. Is it a good best practice to put those smaller pieces of paper in the shredded paper bags? Yes. If you've got any paper that you're ripping and tearing up into smaller pieces, if you want to see that paper get recycled, I would recommend putting the paper in the clear bag. That'll give it the best chance to be recycled, because otherwise, you're right, Barbara, if you throw it in loose in the recycling bin, it's likely going to get lost in the stream and not truly end up being recycled, which is a bummer. That's not what we want, right? So put it in the bag. I think that's a good recommendation for everybody on the call that also has smaller pieces of paper. All right, folks, I think I have gotten through everybody's answers, everybody's questions, I should say. Just a friendly reminder, this session has been recorded. It will be emailed out to you tomorrow around the noon hour. You are welcome to reshare with friends and family that you think would benefit from the call. We do these sessions every single month, different topics. Next month, the session will be on Wednesday, June 25th at noon. It's usually the last Wednesday of the month is when I try to pick these dates. It'll be on how to recycle right at home. So if you think of someone else that would like to join the conversation, I'm happy to host them, have a great conversation with them as well as everyone here. And then I want to thank everyone else for their time and their commitment to recycling. Keep up the great work. Don't hesitate to reach out to SWACO if we can be of assistance on your waste diversion journey. That's what we're here for. We're public servants that are ready to help you out. So I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their Wednesday, and we'll talk soon. Take care. Bye-bye.